Hey, what's up guys, Tasteless here, and today we're going to be going over how to counter Conduit. I've noticed there's a big portion of the Spellbreak community that has a hate towards Conduit that I don't believe is necessarily called for. Overall, I think the class balance is pretty good in this game. All the gauntlets have clear pros and cons, and I wanted to take time to cover how you can exploit Conduit's downsides to make it easier for you guys to fight them. This video will be covering Conduit without accounting for offhand gauntlets and mostly covering what strengths it has within its class. If you guys do end up enjoying this, we might make it into a series, so let me know in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's get into it. I honestly believe the best way to learn how to counter all the classes in this game is to fully understand their abilities in tandem with your own. Learn the skill levels of the different classes and what abilities they have throughout the different time periods of the game. Right off drop, level 1 Conduit will have potential energy, and to be honest, it's not that great of a level, especially with the white gauntlet on drop. It is for this reason a Conduit's weakest point in the game is at the very start of the match. I'd even go as far as to say as Conduit is the worst class early game, followed by Tempest. So this means if you are a Stone Shaper or Pyromancer, which are arguably the best early game classes, you should probably try and kill that Conduit very early if you are given the opportunity. Now going into the first ring, level 2, is where things start to heat up for Conduit. If you run into a Conduit inside the first circle, they will have Overload. This gives them at minimum 2 rune charges that recharge technically at the same time, since one is actually tied to their lightning strike. This isn't taking into account runic fluency, which makes the situation worse with 3 total rune charges. Most Conduits will be using some sort of movement ability to be able to disengage, such as flight, so the idea is to burst them down here before they can get away. Or you can run ice to hit them for big damage while they're in midair or trying to run away. Conduit is strongest at mid-range, so try not to get caught out in the open with no cover around against one. The best way to take out Conduit players regardless of level is full sending on them and getting in front of their face. Put them in a bad situation for their gauntlet by keeping them at close range or at very long ranges if you're running ice. If they try to back up and disengage, don't let them. Just keep chasing until they're down. Flight is probably the best rune for chasing, but keep in mind they inherently have an extra rune charge, so make sure you make it quick and don't let them use a second or third charge. The second ring, level 3, is Conduit's Power Spike, and when they become very deadly. Power Surge forces you to pay attention to when an enemy Conduit casts their lightning strike, because you want to make sure you're not in their line of sight for the next 5 to 6 seconds. Their unlimited casting mana may only last for 4 seconds, but they also have to drain that bar after that ability ends. This means they have an absurd amount of damage output for this period of time. One thing you need to keep in mind is that even if they don't hit you with that initial lightning strike, they still have the advantage in most situations unless you are right in their face. If you do go head to head with them during this scenario, you better not miss, because they will punish you very hard if you do. It is best to try and bait out a lightning strike in the following few seconds, and when their sorcery is on cooldown, chase them down and get them out of the fight. You have a 15-second window, so time is of the essence here, so keep that in mind. To shortly cover the third ring, level 4, is when the Conduit gets secondary strike. It is pretty easy to avoid, just don't stand in the zone, because each strike will do 20 damage with a total damage output of 100 if you get hit with all 5. This is on top of the fact that they will stun you unless you have the Harmony talent, and they also have that 5 to 6 seconds of mana. So in short, try not to get hit by more than 1 or 2 strikes, otherwise you'll most likely die in this situation. Conduit's strength comes from its consistency over longer fights, so the shorter you can keep the fight, the better it is for you. For this reason, burst damage gauntlets are the best counter. Short to mid-range burst damage options would be Toxic, Fire, and Stone, and of course Ice is going to be your long-range burst damage. Consider these choices as offhands if you're not running them as your respective class. Now to summarize all the points I want you guys to remember when going up against a Conduit is super weak early game. Conduits have an inherent rune advantage, so try and kill them before they can run, or chase and make sure they can't heal. Conduit is the best at mid-range with minimal cover, so play cover and try to stay in either close range or at very long range, preferably with a burst damage gauntlet. Be wary of lightning strikes after the second ring, whether they hit you or not. And that's going to do it for today's tips on how to counter Conduit players. If this video helped you guys out, please drop a like and subscribe, as it is the best way to help me out. But until next time, Breakers, I'll see you in the HoloLands.